It was Sunday evening in Innsbruck, Austria. We were tired and hungry, and getting a meal proved to be more difficult than we had imagined.
You're listening to Travel FOMO, a podcast for people self-diagnosed with wanderlust.
Thanks for tuning in to the Travel FOMO podcast. I'm Jamin Houghton, and I'm here with my wife and discoverer of things that we don't know, Hilarie.
Yeah.
I felt like we had to do a lot of that in Innsbruck.
Yes.
Innsbruck kind of ended up being a comedy of errors for us.
Yeah, well, I feel like every place we went to was a little bit of that. But yes, definitely Innsbruck. So much we did not know.
Yeah, and we're discovering things and working through them as we go along, and Innsbruck was no exception. We had just come from Hallstatt, which was a magical place. If you missed that episode, go back and catch it. We really loved our time there. We arrived in Innsbruck. It was Sunday. We had done a lot of train travel, so we were just like, you know what? We're just going to get the groceries that we need for the next few days and settle into the Airbnb and just kind of relax and chill out.
Yeah.
Well, that ended up being a little bit tougher than we thought because we found out that grocery stores are closed on Sunday in Austria.
I still can't believe that. I remember looking on my phone and being like, are you kidding me? They're all closed.
Yeah, and there were grocery stores right next to our Airbnb, and so originally we had thought we'll walk from the train station, check in, and then it'll just be a little errand. But we found that the only grocery store open was actually in the train station.
Yeah.
So we had to walk back to the train station that we had just come from and go to the grocery store there, which was kind of frustrating. I feel like it would have been better if it would have been the same distance, but in the opposite direction, just so that we wouldn't have to have like retraced our steps and be like, we're going to have to walk down the same exact streets.
Yeah.
But
the irony of like, we could have just picked up groceries as we like stepped off the train is crazy. And that's a great travel trip for other travelers is Sunday. I don't know if it's all of Austria or Innsbruck or what, but on Sundays, grocery stores are closed, but train stations have grocery stores that stay open on Sundays. So
yes,
good to know.
And I will say that like all through Europe, the grocery stores in the train stations are usually pretty good, which is something that I was kind of shocked by. Like in the US, I would not go to a grocery store that's in a train station. Yeah. But in Europe, like they're decent. Like you can, so if you are getting off a train and there's a grocery store, like you can pop in there and get all the normal stuff.
If you have your face mask during COVID, you can go inside.
Right. So Austria was super strict. So we were there in May of 2022. Austria was very strict on a lot of the COVID regulations. So you had to wear a mask on all public transport and in some buildings, grocery stores being one of them. And
no, train stations being one of them. And we were in a train station.
Right. But you had to in all, I'm pretty sure in all grocery stores.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I don't remember going into any other grocery stores in Austria. So I missed that part.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was all grocery stores. And it had to be a medical face mask, like an N95, like it couldn't be anything that, so it had to be official. And they were very much checking it. So there's someone at the door who, if you don't have your face mask, you're getting turned away. I feel like there are other places that required it, but didn't really enforce it. But in Austria, it was definitely enforced. And when we got there, we realized that you had forgotten your face mask.
I'm always the problem. Yes, I did not have my face mask.
And I didn't even really think about it that much because we're going country to country, and I feel like it was required in some places, not other places. And so I really just kind of lucked out that I had mine with me. And so we went grocery shopping in shifts. So I went in first.
Because I really wanted to go inside and see what they had.
Yeah. So I went in and got stuff. And then I came out and waited for you while you took the face mask and went in and got stuff.
But I didn't know what you had bought.
Right.
So I came back out with some pizza Pringles.
And I also had bought some pizza Pringles.
We
So
had plenty of pizza Pringles.
we doubled down on the Pringles in Innsbruck.
That's hilarious. Oh
And
my gosh.
we went grocery shopping, walked all the way back to the place, and I was really excited to cook and eat this frozen pizza that it had been a long day of travel, and I was like, I'm going to eat this frozen pizza. So excited about it. And then the oven didn't work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, it was like, are you kidding me? Like, it's like people stay in the Airbnbs, but they probably don't eat in maybe as much.
Yeah.
But for us, it was really important that we like eat in because we were saving money. And yep, it was a no-go. So then we had this frozen pizza that we'd paid for and we couldn't use.
Yeah.
And the oven wouldn't work. So frustrating. So then we ended up having to go out and eat.
Right. Yeah. We found like a doner kebab place that was close, and it was good. It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
But it was one of those things we didn't want to spend the money that way. And we'd already gone to the effort of buying the frozen pizza. And if you don't have an oven, frozen pizza does you absolutely no good. It's not one of those things you can eat cold or like figure out some other thing to do. You have to have an oven.
Yeah.
So it was just like wasted money. And it felt like at that point, once you'd been a long day of train travel, you realize, oh, you have to go back. Oh, we have to have the face mask. Oh, the oven doesn't work. It just felt like the world is against you. You just want to give up.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I got when I was in the grocery store was Sekt, which is sparkling wine from the Germany and Austria area.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think of like Prosecco being like sparkling wine from Italy, just imagine that it's called Sekt here, Sekt. And so I'd bought some of that because it was a kind of a special day for us. Not kind of. It was a special day for us because it was May 15th. This is 2022, so May 15th, and it would have been our daughter Hollis's 5th birthday.
Yeah.
5 years old. She'd have been like a little kindergartner. And so for those of you who don't know, I want you real quickly tell people about Hollis for those who don't know.
So she was born in May of 2017, and she was... quickly after she was born, in a few days, we noticed there's some problems. She was diagnosed with a condition called NKH, which she did not survive. And so we got to be with her for about 6 days. And so every year on her birthday, we recognize her and just we think about her all the time, but especially on that day.
Yes, especially on that day, our daughter Hollis. And also, you guys hear us talk about swans all the time. And we love swans because her bedroom was decorated in swans. And so I just always have to like recap that real quick for people who may be hearing that for the first time. But so that day was really special for us. And we just like stood there in that little kitchen and like toasted to Hollis with our Sekt wine and just acknowledged that it was her 5th birthday. And so that just is like a moment in time that stands out to me, especially after like kind of a crazy day. It was nice to do a little something that acknowledged like that this was an important day for us.
Yeah.
Even while you're traveling, you can celebrate, but you can also honor important milestones. So
yeah, and those people that you've lost, when you travel, you can take them with you. And they, obviously we're different people because of Hollis. And so taking her with us through that way and through remembering her wherever we go, and especially like you said, when we see a swan while we're traveling or something, it's like her memory's there with us. And it was really special. Yeah,
it was really special. And then the next morning we got up and we were like, okay, Innsbruck, show us what you got. Show us what you got. We were going to go hiking.
Yeah, we were excited to be there. We were going to go hiking up in the mountains, but it started raining that first night that we were there. It was raining into the morning, and we recognized like it would just be a muddy, nasty mess.
Yeah, we weren't exactly like packed. We hadn't packed for like a muddy hike.
Right. We were just backpacking, so our shoe options were pretty limited. They did not include anything that we could get super muddy. So
Yeah.
that ended up being canceled out. And so like, okay, well, we're not going to do that. So we'll walk around the city. We went and saw the Golden Roof, which is a little balcony that the former mayors, or was it king or mayors?
I think it's kings.
Yeah, kings. Yeah. The former king built to overlook kind of the city square that he could walk out on. He and his wife could walk out on this balcony and see what was going on in the city square and keep up on all that was happening. And so the Golden Roof still exists there. And we went, and it was early in the morning, which typically works out really well for us. Like, we like to go on runs.
Yeah, usually.
Early in the morning, and usually you have the city kind of to yourself. But in this instance, there were just a mass of delivery trucks there. So it's just a ton of trucks trying to back in and back out. So you picture like trucks with their backup beepers and buzzers and like running, and the guys pushing stuff everywhere. And it was just chaos trying to get around there. And so that didn't go quite the way that we wanted it to, but we did go see a few churches, and there's a row of really colorful buildings there in Innsbruck along the river that we got to go see. There's tons of shopping, and a few things that we didn't get to do but makes Innsbruck interesting is the hiking. Like, there's a lot of hiking that can be done around there. If the weather had cooperated, we would have got to do a little of that, and that was kind of our plan. But so would definitely recommend, if you're there, get in a hike. The Winter Olympics were held there in Innsbruck a few years back, and so there's still some remnants of that around. The ski jump is still,
which we passed several times. We just didn't maybe go up it, but
right.
I feel like we got to experience it to some degree.
Yeah, we got to see it. It's sort of a prominent feature there in the city, which is cool to see and walk past. You can also take a cable car to a viewing platform, and it really is a beautiful part of the country with the Austrian Alps and everything to see. I wish we'd gotten to get out into nature more and experience that a little more, but you can still even see it from the city, just walking around, which is kind of cool.
One of the highlights for me was the Swarovski Kristallwelten, which is basically like crystal gardens. Like, who doesn't want to go there? And it's technically not inside Innsbruck. It's outside, like a 10 or 20 minute train ride, I think. So not too bad, but I was like, I'm super into Swarovski. Like, I like their jewelry. They're speaking of swans, they are the company with the logo of that crystal swan. Yeah. So it's the Swarovski crystals that you always hear about. And so Jamin has like bought me like a fabulous like swan bracelet for Mother's Day one time, and then I've got like different earrings and different, I really like their stuff, and specifically the swan part of them. And so I kind of took this little excursion myself. It was a little pricey, and I think that's maybe why we didn't both go. It was raining, it was a little pricey, and it was very much my thing and maybe not so much your thing.
I remember us discussing it and me being kind of like, well, if you really don't care whether or not I go, I don't know that I would enjoy it, the value of the ticket.
Yes.
But we knew that you would.
Yes. And we knew that it was an opportunity for you to see like cathedrals and things that you were maybe a little bit more into.
Yeah.
And we only had so much time and so much money. So I hopped on a train and headed out to, I believe it's called Wattens, Austria, and that's where the Swarovski headquarters are, and it made me like fall in love with them even more, because like you're talking about this massive corporation, and they're like in this small town, like the suburb, and they have like their campus up on this hill in like these Austrian mountains. It's like really, really pretty. I can't imagine going to work every day there and looking out my office window and seeing all this beautiful landscape. It's so beautiful. And then I got to kind of like walk through the town a little bit too, which ended up being awesome. I actually found my mom a harmonica. My mom really wanted a harmonica.
That's right.
And so from somewhere in Europe. And it wasn't necessarily a harmonica so much as like, I think she wanted like something musical, and a harmonica was something small that I could bring back for her. So, I was able to get that in Austria, and I made my way then to, the Swarovski campus, more or less. So imagine arriving to a corporate headquarters, and you see the corporate building, but then back behind it is this amazing garden that's almost like a Disneyland for like adults. Like, it was just like, there's, the ticket booth, and it's very well maintained, and so you kind of just make your way through these gardens, and then there's a part of it that is actually inside the mountain. So imagine like walking in the door to an underground world, and it's kind of in the side of the mountain, and it actually, you walk through the door and it's behind a waterfall, like a lush green mountain with a waterfall coming off the side that they've like, it kind of looks like a human face, and the water is spewing out of the mouth of this face, and it's really cool. Like, you guys, this is something worth checking out in our YouTube video, because it's pretty different. It's pretty unique. I couldn't film a ton on the inside, but there were some pictures I could take, and there was a limited amount I could do. But it's just really cool. It's brilliant, because they basically use their crystals to create artwork, and a lot of it is interactive artwork. And so they get really creative with it. It reminds me of like a lot of places that you see here in America now, like Meow Wolf, and some of the things, some of the other like pop-ups that, people go and like, it's very Instagrammable.
Right.
So, it was a lot of fun, but it cost like, I think it was 19 euros to get into the art museum, which was really, really cool. Especially if you love sparkly things, it's like gonna be your jam. But so that whole, and I use the word art museum because it's like an interactive art museum. That's the best thing I can come up with. But like I said, it's all underground, and so like you come through this behind this fountain, and everything's like covered. These mountains are like covered. They're lush green mountains and vines and all kinds of stuff. And then there's all these different rooms that you went into, and each room had its own theme. And so like one of the first ones that really stood out to me was one, and it was Christmas, and everything on the inside, it was several stories tall.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very top was a snow machine throwing snow down on you.
Like real snow?
Real snow. Like, it was really cold. And so you walk in there, and they even had like, I think some kind of covers for your shoes in case you weren't wearing the right kind of shoes. Like, they had kind of prepared you for that. But yeah, you walk inside, and there's like snow. There's this Christmas tree with real snow on it, and it's huge, like several stories, and it's like rotating, and all this snow is coming down. You could literally like make a snowman if you wanted. It was like kind of crazy.
So was the tree like real, or was it made out of crystal?
Good question. I think it had, if I can remember right, I believe it was like a real tree, but it had, or a fake looking real tree.
Gotcha.
But it had like they used crystals and like how they decorated the tree for Christmas, I think, if I remember that correctly. But I think there was even an igloo you could go inside and stuff. And then that was one that like really stood out to me. And then there was like, one of the really famous ones was the Chandelier of Grief. And it was a cylinder room that you walked into. You open this door and you go inside this cylinder room, and you can tell it's cylinder because you're kind of up and you're in that kind of an open air part of everything. Maybe not open air, but like a huge lobby-ish area underground. And you can see that there's this cylinder room in front of you that you're going to go walk into. And so you walk in, and they've used one crystal chandelier and a ton of mirrors to create this visual effect that's like really powerful. And so it was a really cool one that's also maybe one of their highlights, I would say. And then they had a room that was like all Hollywood themed, and it was so fun because it was filled with all these costumes that featured Swarovski crystals. And so they had costumes of like Marilyn Monroe's dress from the Kennedy birthday party.
Wow.
They had Nicole Kidman's outfit from her opening scene in Moulin Rouge, where she sings "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend," and she's got all these like diamonds on her. Then Elton John's Rocket Man jacket was in there. It was covered in crystals. Then there was like tons of outfits and jewelry that were worn by famous people like Cher and Beyonce, Selena Gomez, Simone Biles, and there was a crystal slipper that was like a life-size like Cinderella crystal slipper.
Did you try it on?
So cool. Oh no, it was like behind glass. But really, really cool. There were some ruby slippers that were really similar to that from The Wizard of Oz. I don't know that it was actually used in the film, but it just kind of like, I don't know, it was just really, really cool to see all of this stuff on display. And the way they display it is really fun. And so anyway, I tried to get as much photos that I could because photos were more okay than video. And I think it's because they had like a lot of music playing, and maybe for copyright reasons on the music, gotcha. They couldn't let you video. But yeah, oh man, it was crazy. It was really cool. And it was really special because like we just said, like Hollis's birthday was the night before. And to go to this place where swans dominate everything, it was really cool to be there on that particular time during our trip. Was like pretty special. It was pretty neat. And then I tried a million times to actually say the words on camera. Swarovski Kristallwelten. Yeah. And I think it's basically Swarovski Crystal Gardens, I believe is what that means. But
so being there like for Hollis's birthday and all the swans and stuff like that, do you think that you would rather have gotten to go to a place like that on that day, or do you think you would have rather just been at home and not had to do anything?
That's a really good question. I think I'd rather do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have had moments too where I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go anywhere. Later on in this same week, we call it like the week of Hollis because she was alive for a week. And so the whole week kind of means something to us, and you kind of relive the moments that she was alive. And later on in the week, I remember we were in Switzerland, and I remember being in Interlaken, Switzerland, laying in bed in our little cabin chalet and thinking like, I don't want to get up. Like, I don't want to. Not today. Yeah. I don't want to do anything today.
Yeah.
And it was Switzerland. I love Switzerland. And yet still something in me was like sad. Yeah. And I just didn't want to do anything. So it comes and goes. What about you? How would you, if like in an ideal situation, what would you do for like a day like that?
I don't know. I think just because of my personality, I think my initial gut reaction is like just be at home and, you know, and not do anything.
Yeah.
And just be able to remember her and be sad if you need to or whatever. But I do think that there's been times where we've done something or like this. We were somewhere, we were on this trip and getting to remember her in a way that maybe I wouldn't have planned for myself is nice too.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of with you. I think a little of both. We kind of knew going into it that there would be those feelings and stuff, but it is interesting to when those anniversaries come up and like that week for us of what to do, because part of you just wants it to be over, and then part of you wants it to last forever so that you can remember, and it's just It's just interesting.
Is there something you know about that revolutionizes the way you travel? Can it solve problems and help people around the roadblocks on their adventures? Is it just plain cool? If you have a product like that, we would love to tell people about it. Get in contact with us, and maybe next time we'll be talking about your product right now.
But we did get to have a little birthday cake.
We did. Aww.
And we went to Hotel Sacher and tried the Sacher-Torte.
Yeah, you sniffed out some chocolate for us. I was so glad you did.
And it was really good. So it's a famous cake, like probably the most famous chocolate cake. But Hotel Sacher in Vienna, Austria, is where it actually originated. But there is a Hotel Sacher in Innsbruck that serves it as well. And so we went there and had cake and wine in the hotel, which was a fun experience. It's a cake recipe. It's sort of a denser cake with not really an icing, but almost like a thick chocolate on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a little fruit taste to it as well.
That surprised me.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too. And it pairs really well with red wine, if you're wondering. But it's kind of its own experience there in the hotel, and like it was kind of
it's a cool hotel.
Yeah, a cool hotel, a little bit of a fancy place, and it's sort of in the old part of Innsbruck. So that was a fun experience too.
Yeah,
for sure. To get to do that.
Yeah, that really was. And we didn't get to do a ton in Innsbruck. Honestly, the rain made it a little hard.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of time there, and the rain
rained real hard on us, which made it hard to do a lot of the sightseeing. We kind of got to a point where we're like, oh, okay, all right. We're pretty cold and tired.
We give.
Yeah, but it was beautiful. It's a really cool city from the perspective of there's like this street that you can walk down with like all these colorful buildings that you had mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just got this incredible view of the mountains behind this city.
Yeah.
And it is so photogenic for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love that. I think that makes it extra special. There are just mountains everywhere too. We had a really cool view from our Airbnb because we were up really high on this Airbnb, like on a, one of the tallest, like, apartment buildings probably in the city.
Yeah.
And you could see the sun setting and the sun rising, or really, no, just the sun setting. Wait, I was just going to throw it all in there.
Let's spin around.
Just spin around and then see it rise. No, you could see the sunset behind the mountains, and that was pretty cool because there's just mountains all around the city. It is much more of a city than I expected.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a village, but it was very much a city.
Yeah, I see.
Very big. Yeah. But yeah, as we headed out, we had one other thing we wanted to do in the Innsbruck area.
It's a big thing for you. You were all excited.
I was so excited. We were on our way to see to ride an alpine roller coaster, which is basically some small train tracks that you ride down like crazy style down a mountain in a little I don't even know because, well, we didn't get to do it because on our last morning we got up really early too to do this.
Yeah.
And we were going to be on our way to Switzerland, and we checked out of our Airbnb early because we were gone.
Yep.
We hauled our luggage to the train station. We paid for it to be stored because we figured what would be best is just to leave our luggage in town, go outside the town to do the alpine roller coaster, and then come back in and grab our bags and hit a train. I think whatever train we were going to take, it was going to have to come from Innsbruck anyway. So,
right. Yeah.
So we're like, okay, it'll be super easy. We'll leave our luggage. And so we get out there. Oh, yeah, because we were taking a bus.
Yep.
That's right. We left our bags there. We hopped on a bus, and the bus took us all the way out to Meters, which is just, outside the city, and got all the way out there on this bus, only to find that the website information that they had online was not accurate and the place was not open and everything would open next week. So yeah, just all good. No problem. Next week.
Just come back next week.
Because we won't be here. Oh, and so we waited around for the next bus to take us back. I was so bummed, especially because like you go to the effort of like figuring out a bus system. For me, that is always more frustrating than the train system is trying to get on a bus. So we like figure out the bus system. We have to buy a ticket because we don't have like a Euro pass that covers buses.
Right.
And get on this bus and we go all the way out there only to find. And it's literally, you're talking about like being dropped off next to the side of a mountain. Mm-hmm. There's nothing out there. You're not in town. You're like outside in the country where someone is supposed to be hauling you up a mountain. And anyway, so we sat around, waited for the bus to come take us back. And then we got back into town and we couldn't do anything because we couldn't go back to our Airbnb because we'd already checked out. So we just had to like walk around and kill time, which ended up being fine because there was like a really nice park and we got to see more of Innsbruck. We shopped really briefly.
Yeah.
I think that's the place where you found there were some shoes that you really wanted and you found them there, but you didn't get them. And ever since then, we thought about those shoes.
Yeah. They're like, I think at that point, I had started to recognize that some of the shoes that I had brought were great for this part of our trip. But as we headed further south, more into the summer, I wanted something a little different. And so we were going to buy some shoes. And I found a pair there. And they were perfect. And I was like, but I'm not quite ready yet. If I found them here, I'm sure I'll go find them anywhere. And never saw them again.
So annoying. Do you realize that we went to that train station like so many more times than we ever intended?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because we arrived to it. Mm-hmm. And then we left it and went to our Airbnb and we came back for groceries.
Yep.
Then I went to it again for the Swarovski, to get on a train to go to the Swarovski place. Mm-hmm. Then we went back to leave our bags there.
Right.
To go to the Alpine roller coaster. And then because that's where the bus was going to leave from. And then that fifth time we were like actually leaving.
Back to leave.
Yeah. It just felt like.
It felt like Innsbruck was unnecessarily difficult at every turn for us. Like
so
not any fault of the city or any of the people there. It was just the way it all worked. We just
didn't know.
Out.
There's so many things we didn't know.
Yeah, that was on us. But and even after we left, Innsbruck wasn't done with us because I have a retainer.
Oh yeah.
That I wear and I keep it in a little white case. And at almost every Airbnb, I felt like all of the countertops were white in all the bathrooms. And I would set it down. And every time I would set it down, I would be like, man, I'm going to forget this somewhere. I'm just going to leave this somewhere on accident. And sure enough, in Innsbruck, I left it.
That old tooth was left in Innsbruck. Oh.
But it ended up being okay because the very gracious owner of the Airbnb shipped it actually to my mom's house back in the U.S.
Yeah.
Which meant I just had to go without it the rest of the trip.
Because we had nowhere for her to ship it in
right.
in Europe. It was like there's no way we could arrive somewhere and time it just perfectly with the shipment. Yeah.
Yeah. So they shipped it back to the U.S. for us, which was very gracious of them.
That was really awesome of them. You know, the whole thing made me feel better because right as gap year began and we were moving out of our apartment, I accidentally threw away that white container with the retainer in it.
Yeah.
And I threw it away in the trash myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, how could I possibly have done that? Like, but it's pretty lightweight. And I had like some white paper towels in my hand and I was wiping things down and I picked it up because it was the only thing on the counter, left on the counter. And then it was there with all this other white stuff in my hands.
Yeah.
And I threw that away. I felt so bad because you had to go dumpster diving because at that point we'd like thrown it down the
like down a trash chute.
Yes, we'd thrown it down a trash chute and you had to go. And I'm like, and it was like almost 5 p.m. Like, we needed to hand them our keys to the apartment and everything. And he's like, you go give them the keys before the office shuts down. And I'm going to go dumpster diving for my retainer, which nobody wants it to be in a dumpster. Oh, it was bad.
Yeah. Well, and Innsbruck almost got you too. You almost didn't leave Innsbruck.
I can't believe we haven't told that story yet. I almost didn't leave Innsbruck, guys. It almost got me because at one point in our Airbnb, the shower attacked me by pulling itself out from underneath my feet, and I fell down on oh my gosh. I was trying to get out of the shower. By the way, this bathroom was weird.
Yeah.
The toilet seat and the toilet lid were like comic character. It was like a pattern of like,
it was like comic
Superman
books.
Or something. And I was like, what? Like, who lives here? Like a 12-year-old boy? Like, this is so weird. Which, if you like comics, like, I totally get it. But the whole like renting out your toilet with the, the Superman on it was like maybe not so Airbnb-ish. And so I was like, this is crazy. And so that was already kind of funny to me. And then it was one of those raised showers. That's kind of like this container that they just kind of like put inside a room. And so you step up into it. And as I was stepping down, it all happened in slow motion, and I went crashing, and it hurt so bad. I was like wet, so I'm like sliding everywhere, and I literally was thinking to myself, like, this is how old ladies die. Like, I am going to break my hip in this here like place. I can't believe it. And I screamed and stuff.
You did scream very loud.
Oh my gosh. It was really, really painful. And I was bruised and stuff after that too.
Yeah, I remember you were sore. I remember you like screamed so loud, and I was like packing my bag, like run in there to see like what's going on, and you're on the ground.
I thought I was gonna like hurt a leg or slam my head into something. I was really afraid like that was what was going to happen, is I was going to like ricochet my head onto something. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh man.
Those showers, they'll get you.
Those showers, they get me all across Europe.
But Innsbruck's still a lovely place.
It is. I would go back.
Yeah, I would go back to having learned all the things that we learned. I would do a lot of things differently on our end, but not really change the city. I would just do stuff a little different. And you can, of course, see a lot of the stuff we're talking about in our YouTube video. If you have been to Innsbruck, or you know something about Innsbruck that we additionally need to learn, go watch the YouTube video and then leave us a comment there. Yeah. That's a great way to engage us. About Innsbruck in particular. So we'd love to hear that. You can find us on social media kind of everywhere. We're really active on Instagram and TikTok. Those are good ways to connect with us. We'd love to hear from you and hear any Innsbruck or other Austria related stuff that you have to share with us.
That's right. And next up, we will be going to Interlaken, Switzerland. Oh, I'm so excited. And you guys, we end up going parasailing. Paragliding?
Yes.
Through the Lauterbrunnen Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Just Google that. Paragliding through Lauterbrunnen Valley.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It was amazing.
But until then, just keep living life fast and furious, because life is short.
Wonder well.